1977 was supposed to be a punk revolution, but disappointingly, most people carried on in the same way as before. And we marked the Queen's first 25 years on the throne by giving her an enormous candle. Fashion was pretty disappointing too, given the boasts of C&A. Yes, you can turn him into a maths teacher who in his spare time enjoys pimping. And what's with that terrible song? Things were no better for women, with this very unfortunately named perfume.
Tramp. Today's kind of fragrance for today's kind of girl.
I think you might want to play down the name in the posh advert, guys.
Tramp. Free.
Nah, they've done it again.
Bold and exciting.
Now, 1977 did bring us Star Wars, but even then, some of the toys were a bit of an anti-climax. Have a look at this toy commercial.
And here's Greedo, Han Solo, and Walrus Man.
Yes, everyone's favourite Star Wars character, Walrus Man. Even the kids in the ad can't muster any enthusiasm for him. Boney M did their best to try and spark some life into things, as we can see here. But ultimately, 1977 left us feeling like everyone in the audience in this video. Weirdly bored, wishing we were anywhere else, but begrudgingly clapping along. 1977, definitely my most embarrassing year.
1977, that bring it all flooding back?
It does, and actually now I've realised how much I loved 1977. It was amazing, let's be honest. I mean, it was embarrassing. I know if people look at it today, they would think those clothes were embarrassing. But, you know, that's what we had. That's all we had. Yeah. And I look back at those clothes and I think, actually, I would wear those C&A clothes. That's it. I want to get that leather jacket with the huge lapel.
Yeah.
What was embarrassing about it, then?
Being young wasn't embarrassing, but the way older people and the way society reacted to the change that was going on, that was what was embarrassing.
Yeah.
But it became, you know, it was like, that's why the 80s, I think the 80s was so remarkably cool and so much fun, is because the groundwork was laid at the end of the 70s.
But you sounds like you know, you were a bit embarrassed about you at that age.
Well, I'm kind of
in terms of the culture around you.
Yeah, the culture about me, I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't engage with it more and engage with it properly. That's what I'm embarrassed. Because actually all that fun stuff was happening as well, punk, and I did become a punk, but I could have been to see like 50 times more gigs than I did. You know, I could have really, and I could have, if I'd have found a way of actually communicating with other human beings, it would have been a good year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends, basically. Not just female friends, didn't really have any male friends. And so I finally, the closest I got to a girl, the first kiss I had was when I was 17. And it was a memorable evening because it's when punk was happening. That's why 77 was such a great time to be young. I know most people feel that, but I feel very lucky to have been young then. And we were going home from a gig. We went to see Ultravox live at the Marquee in London on New Year's Eve when 77 turned at 78. And on the way home, it was amazing. And we'd missed the trains didn't run all night and buses, you had to get the night bus home if you missed it. So we missed that. So we went to Leicester Square and it was packed with people who were really celebrating. And there was a sort of jam of cars. So we climbed on the roof of cars. We were drunk. And we ran on cars, people shouting at us. We were really high. And then we managed to get, I think just in time, we got the night train home, which was like 2 in the morning or something. And there were like 2 trains you get during the night. And we went down there and there were some girls on the station. And this mixture of adrenaline and drunkenness and excitement, we just went up to them, which normally we wouldn't. We'd have been too scared to speak. And we got to the tube, and these girls, and they were kind of drunk as well. We went, Happy New Year, and they said Happy New Year. And one of them sort of put her arms out, and I put my arms out, and I got my first kiss from her, which was an amazing
proper
kiss, but she was eating fish and chips at the time, and she had some of the fish and chips still in her mouth. And when I put my tongue in her mouth, which was a bold move, but I'd read about it in a magazine, when I put my tongue in her mouth, she popped some of the food into my mouth. It's like a mother bird feeding a And in a way, that was great because I was hungry as well. It was a very, very satisfying, quite an erotic experience.
1992 was the year Yeltsin went to Washington and Windsor Castle went up in smoke. But this was a year as cheesy as the sweat dribbling from the mullet of Billy Ray Cyrus, as we can see here. The sweat is officially cheesier than the dance moves. Then there was the Super Nintendo, which, looking back at this advert, might have promised more than it could deliver.
You are about to experience the future.
Judging from the graphics, by the future, they meant 1993. And the kids were all into gack, a soft, squidgy substance that made fart noises, as can be seen in this nightmarish ad.
You can pull it. Make gack sounds.
How rude.
Her miserable face resembling all parents across the country. On the telly every Saturday night was Gladiators, with its health and safety gone mad games and prickly characters, like Wolf, who can be seen here aggressively startling the crowd of small children.
You're just lucky I'm in a good mood.
And what could be cheesier than Mr. Michael Ball representing the UK in the Eurovision Song Contest, only for someone to slowly fart seconds before he started to sing. And to be honest, that's how I remember the year. It looked good, but underneath, it was a bit farty. 1992, definitely my most embarrassing year.
Gladiators. Should we be embarrassed that Gladiators was the big Saturday night show?
That was a big thing at the time. Everybody wanted to be one of the Gladiators.
Yeah.
There was like Jet and
Jet. Everybody wanted to be Jet.
Jet was the fit
Jet-
one who
Jet
could
was
do a cartwheel with no
good,
hands.
Who was the one that used to wind everybody up? The Wolf.
Yeah.
That was quite embarrassing, wasn't it?
I was having children when that was on. That's old. And we were going to call my son Wolf until Gladiator started. We can't call him Wolf now. People think
Yeah, that would be a
after him.
silly name.
Yeah.
That was huge.
He was
at
going to
the
be called
time.
Wolf Galactus.
Did you get into the whole line dancing thing? Because that seemed to be... I moved to London around this time, and it was all the people in the office I worked at, they all would go, I've got to go early tonight, we're lined up. Everybody.
It was
the whole of London.
It was
line
like
dancing.
Zumba for back then, wasn't it? It was quite a...
But it was a blip, wasn't it? It did only last about 3 months, didn't it?
It
came and went.
certainly didn't last long.
Did you have a mullet? I bet you had a mullet.
Not a proper achy breaky, not a Billy Ray Cyrus, Jason Donovan's. No, but close.
In 2007, everyone got really into Rickrolling. That's when you think you're going to watch something online, but when you click on it, it's the video of Rick Astley. But what if you want to watch Rick Astley? Well, that was 2007 all over for me. I couldn't work out what anyone was thinking. Enrique Iglesias made this mad record that sounded like people playing table tennis.
Do you know?
Why? It was just a complete distraction from everything else going on. And this is Lee Mead. He's walking on a psychedelic keyboard in the sky while someone blows on milk bottles as the backing track. Whose insane idea was this? Yeah, that makes sense. All our phones were like this one, clamshells, which look okay for 5 minutes, but then either break or get filled with ick. Oh, they did bring out the iPhone. Look at that. It's not even a clamshell. That'll never catch on. The only other thing I remember from 2007 was Kim Kardashian's sex tape. And here's an explicit clip of that now. Oh, it's Rick Astley again. 2007, a year that was totally baffling. Definitely my most embarrassing year.
Doesn't know what it is.
Yeah,
Even like the most famous thing about that year is that it's referencing something from the 80s.
Yes.
So it just doesn't know, it hasn't found its own way yet.
I do not associate Rick Astley with 2007 at all.
Well, you were there for the first time round.
I was there for the first time round.
But Rickrolling was a big thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was a big
massive.
joke. And if that's the best joke they could come up with, that's not a great
Exactly. As soon as a joke can get quickly co-opted by your thickest uncle, it's not a good joke.
Yeah.
It was just such an awful year. Terrible.
Do you know what's weird is, even though it's only 30 seconds since that finished, I can't remember anything about 2007.
Phones were a big thing.
Phones.
Phones are the massive thing, which I think... I'm addicted to my smartphone. I think it's an absolute poison. We should have nipped it in the bud at the motor road.
It's too late now.
Yeah,
It's too late.
but now the iPhone came out and I've got it glued to my hand, but as soon as smartphones came out, I was, like, fully obsessed.
So how old were you, Kiri, now, when this was at 2007?
21, there you go.
21.
Oh, 21 as well. Ugh. Like, that should be a good year.
Should
like,
be.
21. But I was still, like, head up my own arse, hadn't quite found myself
What's the
yet.
symbol for that in your diary?